First and foremost, most of my information came from Dr. Greger and nutritionfacts.org. And this is his cookbook, How Not to Die. It's not just a cookbook. There's wonderful information in here from him talking about different diseases and how going vegan can absolutely help and even reverse some of the issues that the common American people suffer from. What was really cool about this book too, that I have to say, is in the very back, because I was kind of intimidated by the book, and I'm like, where do I begin? You know, it's like every other cookbook. Okay, you know, which recipes am I supposed to pick? How do I know what's balanced? How do I have any guidance about what to eat? Well, at the very back, of course, you have your index, but he has a sample menu for 14 days, and this is what got me going. So you've got 14 days full on breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even dessert. And of course, I think that you can figure out any snack that you need in between there. But the fact that he had a menu laid out for me, the hardest part about that was just sitting down and writing out the shopping list, because you have to count for not only, okay, how long is this gonna last me, but a lot of the things that you purchase are produce. And so what you come to find out is when you go vegan, you start eating, or you start grocery shopping every 2-3 days versus a week, or however long you could stretch it out to, because your produce goes bad. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I loved having this to get me going. And some of the things that he talks about in here is a sweetener called date syrup. And I want to bring that up first. Date syrup is essentially dates that you soak in water, and then you just a little bit of water, and you put them in your blender and you mix it up. I think you add a little bit of lemon juice to it, and there's your sweetener. This is what you add in anything that, instead of white sugar, instead of brown sugar, instead of honey, you can use date syrup or date sugar. And also, another alternative to, say, honey or a sweetener is agave. Vegans don't eat honey. They believe that it's stealing from the bees, and I do too. And not only that, but just the fact that bees are so important to our culture, or to our world and our earth. It's wise to stay away from the honey. Now, I struggled with that because I liked honey for the medicinal purposes. I liked what I had researched and found out how it can help. But once I realized that was more for the local honey, and all the honey that I was buying, wasn't local, and further down the line done more research, it's cut honey, it's not even pure honey. So this is what we use, agave. This one happens to be organic, but it's great as a replacement for sugar or honey. So got those taken care of. Let's talk about nuts. We're not eating meat anymore, so we need an alternative way to maybe offset that type of food in our diet, because our brains are programmed to think we need certain types of foods on our plate. So that being said, I like to start with pumpkin seeds, raw unsalted pumpkin seeds. These have the highest amount of protein of all the nuts. It's great for smoothies, great for if you're going to make some type of breads, and also trail mix. Wonderful. Let's see. Almonds are my go-to. I absolutely love almonds, and in fact, this is the base of my trail mix. I eat these almost daily. Pistachios, my kids love the pistachios. Now, we're looking at these nuts and seeds even. Here's chia seeds, which are really good. Gotta have the flax seed. And it's very expensive, but I buy hemp seed as well. These are all wonderful sources of proteins, and you don't have to stop here. You can go with other nuts too. Wonderful sources of protein. But what I like to do with them, well then, I also have dried cranberries. These are figs. I showed you, went ahead and had the dates. And these ones are prunes. These are really good for people with arthritis. Coconut flakes are great additives. Granola and grape nuts are really good additives. And so what I like to do with these ingredients, what I do with these is I will make smoothies, and I'll include like these, the flaxseed and the hemp seed, and the pumpkin seeds and the chia seeds, along with the fruit that I put in. Now when I'm making trail mix, I like to take old recycled peanut butter jars. We go through them so much, or even if you want to expand yourself, cashew butter, there's other nut butters out there, which I've also learned through Dr. Greger, you know, you can make your own nut butters on top of that. But I like to take the recycled plastic jars and I make my own trail mix. And for me, my favorite is I like the almonds, the cranberries, and the pumpkin seeds. And I throw this in my purse, and this is my go-to. And it's a saving grace. I love it. I love it so much. And I can mix it up a bit too. And you know, just because I have these items here doesn't mean that's the end of it. There's so many other options that you can choose from. Now, so that's the trail mix. Now, I also use these ingredients for overnight oats. Some people use jars. We go ahead and purchase containers like these. And what we'll do is, which I actually need to do, and I can do a video on that next, is I set these up, line about 7 of them in a row. And I go through, take my old-fashioned oats, 100% whole grain, and I'll sprinkle in some, you know, maybe about 1.5 cups. This is for my husband. Me and the children don't particularly care for this type of breakfast, but he loves it and it's great for him. So I'll put 1.5 cups of oats in there for him, and then I change it up. I will sprinkle grape nuts in, I will sprinkle granola in. Sometimes I'll put chia seeds, sometimes I'll put the pumpkin seeds in. One day I'll do hemp seeds, one day I'll do flax seeds for him. And, you know, just give him a variety. There's a few times that I'll even toss in the cranberries or raisins. Then I will follow it up with some type of fruit, you know. I usually wait. If it's going to be banana, I'll drop that in the morning. But I always put blueberries in because those are great for the first thing in the morning for your brain. And sometimes I'll put fresh strawberries in, or fresh kiwi, or anything that we really have. But you put the milk in, which we use almond milk. There's also cashew milk. There's tons of different other milks, but we choose almond milk. We pour that in, you know, to his preference, and it's all about preference. There's really no recipe on this. And I will also, for sweetener, I will put in some of the date sugar or syrup, however you like to call it, that I've already pre-made, and I will put that in. If I am out of it, then my go-to for the oatmeal will be I'll sprinkle brown sugar in. But this is how, you know, and it's great. I'll do this, line it up, do 7 of them, stick them by the fridge, and once, you know, just before I go to bed, throw some milk in it, throw some fresh fruit in it, and toss it in the fridge. Wakes up the next morning, hoovers that down, and it gives him great energy. He loves it, and you know, he really gets disappointed when he doesn't have it because you know, when we don't prep it the night before, because he really looks forward to it to get his mornings going. Okay, well, now that we've talked about that type of breakfast and all these items that we use to assist, another thing I want to talk about that I don't happen to have on me today is cashews. Cashews are a really good nut as well. And what's important about the nuts is, remember, you want raw, unsalted, uncooked, just raw. But the cashews are great for use. Let them soak, or sometimes I will boil them a little bit to, you know, get them softened. And then you can make those they're great cheese bases. You put them in a blender and you can mix all sorts of different ingredients with it to come up with some strong, creamy flavors. So that's another thing that nuts are great for. I like walnuts to go into my tacos. I will chop up walnuts or pecans, and I will, you know, chop up a head of lettuce, and I'll bake all that together mixed, and it's a great base for tacos. So, nuts are very important to a vegan diet. Now, and oatmeal, as far as oatmeal, I prefer it cooked. I don't like it soaked overnight, so I just make it in the morning. Something that's important, so I discussed these little boxes, and I have tons of them. These work great for sandwiches. I make a lot of rolled meals, like whole wheat flour tortillas. I will roll beans and rice or something into it and just line them up in there, put the lids on them, and they're good to go. My husband takes these for lunch. They're great for storage. They're great for prepping. You want to chop up vegetables during the week. These are wonderful. There's all different kinds out there on the market to check out. These are what you happen to get out at Walmart. You can check Amazon. Then, as far as the kids are concerned, so, they're vegan. We got to make their lunches. I was going through tons of plastic Ziploc bags, and it was just driving me insane. I'm like, this is not good for the environment. So, went ahead and invested. Got these cute little boxes. Now, they are portion controlled, and my husband didn't want to buy them because they said portion control. However, I said ignore that. The containers, they serve a purpose. They fit in the lunch boxes. So, one may say vegetables, one may say fruit. You can use them however you want, but I just love that, they're teeny tiny. I mean, I put seeds in here. Put some pumpkin seeds in here. Good to go. So, you can chop up, some part of a banana, or, which I like to give them a whole banana, but, cut up some apples, seal it up in here. Do whatever you gotta do. But again, you're saving the environment, and it makes me feel better when I see these containers come home empty versus an empty lunchbox where I have no idea if the kids ate the food or not. I'm not going to take the time to empty out each container. They eat it. And we also invested in several, and these are just 3, but several of these because my youngest loves applesauce, and all the applesauces I'm finding on the market have high fructose corn syrup, and that's not something I'm interested in. So we bought these, and we're going to make our own applesauce, and I figured these would be great to store in her lunch boxes or here at home. And so, I haven't really experimented with other diets in my lifetime. It's always just been the standard American diet. We didn't do prep work, didn't put much time into it. So I'm sure, you could do these things with other diets. You could even do it with the American diet, but it's really important to have the proper containers. It will make your life a lot easier. Just be prepared. That means more dishes. So now that we got storage done and our nuts taken care of, I'd like to talk about spices. Dr. Greger highly recommends, as well as other vegan doctors, nutritional yeast. This is a great source of your B12 vitamin, which you no longer get if you're not eating meat. And this totally adds cheese flavor to it, or at least it's supposed to. For me, it's I hate when they compare. I hate when they say, oh, do this and it'll taste exactly like, a meat version or a cheese version. When you go vegan, you have to kind of just give up your comfort foods and what you know, and just look at this as a whole new frontier. And everything from here on out is fresh and new. And for me personally, I've always had a bad relationship with food. So this is really exciting for me because I feel like for once I'm starting to learn and understand. And back to nutritional yeast. I think it's very important that you find this. We did not have this in my town. Looked all over in the neighboring town. Had to originally order this online from Amazon, but had visited California and was able to stop into a Trader Joe's there and was able to pick up some nutritional yeast. But you can even sprinkle it in. I had put it in my spaghetti sauce. I mean, you can do tons of stuff with it, and it comes up a lot in Dr. Greger's book. Another thing that you need, liquid aminos. This is supposed to replace soy sauce and help reduce your salt intake so that you're not loading up on salt. Little side note on salt. So I have to say, since I've gone vegan, and I even noticed it within the first 2 weeks, once you start eating raw whole foods, you're noticing if you do eat something with salt in it or that's processed, it tastes extremely salty and it seems overboard. Your taste buds absolutely adjust. And so the thing about this though is, if you're gonna have rice and you're gonna put your soy sauce on it and you're gonna use this instead, this is by far, you need way less of liquid aminos than your soy sauce. It is very strong. It's not again, comparable wise, doesn't taste exactly like soy sauce, but it does the job and just takes very little. Another key factors, if you're gonna use salt, I prefer the Himalayan sea salt. I think this one's better for you. I do believe Dr. Greger is away from salt. He doesn't really call for much salt in his recipes, as far as I remember. Then pepper is really good for you too. So I prefer the peppercorn. I like the black peppercorn. In my smoothies, I will put ground turmeric for inflammation for my joints. I've got carpal tunnel and trigger fingers, as well as I have hip issues. And then ginger, which is really good on the stomach. And as you're transitioning from this processed meat coming through your body, and your body's already thanking you for the good foods that you're putting into you, but ground ginger can never hurt you. And an ingredient that comes up a lot in How Not to Die is smoked paprika, not just regular, but smoked. That's something to consider if you're gonna go this route. Lemon juice. We use lemon juice all the time. It's great on your salads. Instead of using a salad dressing, you put this on and it actually activates a lot of the leafy greens and works better for you. I highly recommend this, not just for your salads, but put it in your water when you wake up in the morning. They say the first glass of water should have lemon in it. It's supposed to make you feel great. My husband does it every day. I forget to. I'll do it randomly when I remember. Another thing I like, this isn't a vegan thing or nothing, but I like aloe juice. I put this in my smoothies when I need to maybe add some liquid to help chop things up a little bit more. This has been amazing for my nails and my hair. I've always struggled with weak nails and really thin, scraggly hair. And this is $5 at Walmart, and it's been amazing. It tastes gross if you drink it straight. And I only put maybe a double shot in my smoothie, but I love it, and it's vegan. So that's something I'd like to add. Another great treat, thinking about the kids, popcorn. Popcorn is totally vegan, so don't forget about that. And as you see, you see all my jars, spaghetti jars and peppercini jars. I recycle the jars. I have this thing, and I'm glad because you look up here and there's all my beans. You can see them. I didn't go spend a whole bunch of money on the mason jars. I just saved what I had, and it's working for me. Now, stepping it up a little bit more, they use bananas a lot. They like the nice cream in this cookbook, and the kids like it too. So we have started buying bananas by the case, and we try to eat them as often as we can while they're still yellow. Once they get brown, whatever's left of the brown ones, we chop them up. And again, I use our great little boxes. They work in the freezer just fine, and load them up with the bananas, freeze them. Those in turn great for smoothies. Now you end up with a bunch of banana peels though. So if you're into gardening like I am, I found that if you chop up all the banana peels and stick them in a jar with water for a week, it's gonna look like this. It's gross. But then from here, you strain out, the chunks, and use the water, and you go put it on your plants. And I call it banana tea. So I shall do another video on that and show you how we make that happen. But I don't like to waste. I like to use as much as possible, and so that's something, again, if you're into gardening, something I suggest that you do. Let's talk about grains and breads. My husband and I found the Ezekiel bread. It's in the frozen section, and totally vegan, but it takes some adjusting. Kind of tastes like cardboard. I loaded up with peanut butter and my craisins. My daughter likes it with peanut butter and a cinnamon sugar mixture. And then let's see, we got that. Then I like to get these, when you go with Dr. Greger, he's totally, non-processed food. I am still in the transition phase, and I would love to eventually one day be a raw vegan, who doesn't eat any processed, nothing. But we're still transitioning, and we're trying to get there. And one of the things that my kids contend with at school is lunchtime and Lunchables. Mommy, everyone comes to school, and they almost always, have their pizza Lunchable. I want a pizza Lunchable. And okay, so what are we gonna do? Well, aside from buying, occasionally the vegan frozen burgers, just because I don't do fast food anymore, and sometimes I need help, I buy these thin, sandwich thins buns. They're 100% whole wheat, and this is what we'll use as the bun for the burgers. Well, the other day, my daughter did this whole Lunchable pitch, and so I took 2 of these, and stuck them in her lunch, got one of my little containers, and poured the pizza sauce in it, chopped up some pineapples, because we are pineapple pizza people, and she was set. And I had, a few other things in her lunch as well. But what was cool about hers is these things are bigger than the Lunchable dough that they get. They're whole wheat, and there's no cheese, and she had pineapples to go on it, and all in all, she ends up with 4 pizzas to their 3 in a Lunchable. So I scored. I was the cool mom. So, you have to improvise. You just have to figure out with what you have available, what your options are, how can you make it work. Again, like I said, it's been a struggle not having that fast food. I'm used to at least once a week having a break from feeding people. And since we've gone on this journey, my kids are so much more interested in what we're eating, and a lot of the times they turn their noses up and I hear negative comments, but at the end of the day, they are aware, they're learning, and we talk about why we're eating this way. So I want to move on a little bit to the rice and pasta. We eat brown jasmine rice, I find black rice. There's all different types of rice options out there. But what's key that you incorporate in your diet, and you probably should stay away from the white rice, but I like the jasmine. But anyhow, one of the things you should probably look for, if you have never tried it, is quinoa. Now, it kind of reminds you of rice, but it's got like little balls. And it's very boring by itself. My husband and I have tried it numerous times, and we just realized that we got to find some way to flavor it up. We would do it as an accent to, a mock Chinese meal, and we'd put our liquid aminos on it, and we would stuff it down our throats, but it wasn't enjoyable like, say, rice would be. It was just a different texture. Then when you're going to eat pasta, you got to make sure you're not eating egg pasta. You don't want anything with any egg or even milk in it. But this is, what we look for is wheat semolina. And, they come in all different styles, but look for the semolina. And let's talk about reading labels too. So when you're reading the labels now as a vegan, first thing you got to go to is what your ingredients are. If we see something that we want, but we see that the ingredients is this long, we're like, there's too much crap, we just can't do it. But like for this one, it says that there's wheat semolina. That's it. Then it says contains wheat. It does say processed in a facility that uses egg and milk, but it doesn't contain egg and milk. Some people choose not to buy it at all because of the whole facility thing, but for us, we're okay as long as it says it doesn't have any of those items in it. It's kind of tricky too. Some things will say contains whey. You gotta, your brain has to be prepared to look for things that are milk but doesn't directly say milk. So just read every label. Read. You're gonna spend more time at the grocery store, and you're gonna get to know the people that work at the grocery store more. But that's fine, because when they see, they're gonna start to see you coming, and they're gonna be prepared. And all you can do is, a lot of the times I keep telling my grocers, we need nutritional yeast. We can't find it in this town. We need nutritional yeast. Otherwise, I'm going to keep buying it on Amazon, and so hopefully we can get something started that way. But talk to your grocers. See, I covered let's talk about the tomatoes. I talked about bananas. We also do a lot of tomatoes. My kids love Roma tomatoes like they're apples. They will eat a couple of these a day. I love Roma tomatoes in my salads. Then I get a case for these, and we get the big boys. And these are great for burgers. Excuse me, they're great for tacos. They're great for anything, just like the other tomatoes. We love tomatoes. And then as they start to go bad, or just before we get to that point, we go ahead and blanch them and freeze them. I also make salsas, and one of the things that you realize in his book is you don't go out and buy your condiments. You don't buy ranch dressing. You don't buy hot sauce. You make everything. And he has his own hot sauce recipe in here, but for me, I like it hotter, and I like it kind of chunky, so I will make more of a salsa versus his hot sauce. But that's it, I think. There's a lot to consider when you're transitioning, and it can be overwhelming, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to put you down because they don't understand what you're doing. They think that it's weird because you're not eating meat. Then you're going to have a lot of people that are totally supporting you. And at the end of the day, research. I can't tell you how many times we are vegans and thinking, oh, this item is vegan, like Oreos. My daughter is in love with Oreos. And we know it's crap, but I was like, you know what? We've taken a lot away from her. Let's keep the Oreos, even though it's junk, because it's vegan. But then we did some research and we realized, no, they're not vegan. Just because you see it on the internet doesn't make it so. You gotta research. You gotta make sure. At this point, I've talked about the grains a bit. I've talked about spices. I've talked about nuts. I even talked about pasta a little bit. But I'd like to talk about beans now. Dr. Greger uses beans often, and he totally prefers, the kind that you gotta pre-soak overnight. I'm really bad at that, and haven't had much luck cooking that way. Obviously, this is the healthiest, best way to go. Black-eyed peas, black beans. I mean, you go to the store, there's tons of different kind of beans. However, we do get the cans. Black beans, cannelli beans, refried beans, garbanzo beans, black-eyed peas, snap peas, snow, all kinds of beans, peas, things like that. These are great. We use them in all types of pretty much burrito wraps. And for that, I like to use, actually I prefer the Mission brand. Mission is vegan, but at the least I go for the 100% whole wheat versus the regular flour or corn tortillas. So going for the whole wheat, and then you can do anything from a hot bean mixture to a cold salad mixture with beans in it, and they taste really good in these. You can also do lettuce wraps. We tried collard greens as lettuce wraps, and that didn't go over so well. So heads up on that. Then also, aside from beans, you want to try, these are split peas, but try lentils, and there's different kinds: red, regular. We get these pita breads that are 100%. Excuse me. We get these 100% whole wheat. They say Greek pita breads on them. They're really good for homemade pizzas because we're big pizza people. You can go out and buy cheeses. I haven't talked much about cheese. We are not fond of any of the cheeses we've tried, and in the area we're at, we don't have a big variety of healthy cheese or non-dairy vegan cheese selection. But so we just stay away from cheese. I just wanted to give you a heads up if you're not going to make your sauce homemade, whether it's pasta sauce or pizza sauce. I did find a lot of pasta sauces come with milk in them. So again, this is a perfect point, perfect time for me to explain. Just please, everything that you buy, read the ingredients, and if you don't know what it is, look it up. Be right there in the grocery store, look at your phone. What is this? Where does it come from? Is it an animal product? Do what you need to do. They have apps. So there's different apps. If you check them out, I don't use one, so I'm not quite sure what they're called, but I've heard and been in many different groups where they talked about how they have these apps where you pretty much scan the item and it'll tell you if it's vegan or not, or has gluten in it, or whatever your allergies may be. So thank you so much. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more vegan videos. Thank you.